From Interior Alaska's most trusted news source, this is the Fbx Evening News.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. A North Pole man recently convicted on multiple counts of sexual abuse of a minor is now facing up to 99 years in jail.
That's right. Alan Hughes was found guilty on a total of 14 sexual abuse of a minor charges by a jury of 12. Today, Hughes was back in court, and a judge found that aggravators in the case could be applied. Now, that means Hughes' sentence can be increased to the maximum amount allowed by the law. The jury found Hughes was guilty of the repeated sexual abuse of 2 young girls. He also forced the 2 young victims to have sexual relations with another minor boy for what the prosecution called practice. The abuse happened in North Pole for years, beginning when the girls were about 8 and 9. A Superior Court judge will determine Hughes' sentence in January of 2016.
A man accused of robbing a Fairbanks taxicab driver with a broken bottle will serve 8 years in jail. 27-year-old Keither Ferguson was sentenced this afternoon in Fairbanks Superior Court on a single reduced count of conspiracy to commit robbery in the 2nd degree. Through a translator, the taxicab driver listened to the hearing and told Judge Paul Lyle he was seriously injured by a broken bottle Ferguson and his co-defendant used to rob him in May of last year. Further, prosecutors say the victim was covered in blood when police were called to the scene. According to charging documents, Ferguson and Jacob Kooks accosted the victim for $45. Kooks, who is due to be sentenced in November, also pleaded guilty to a single reduced count of conspiracy to commit robbery. That is a Class B felony. During sentencing, Ferguson asked the victim for forgiveness.
I want to take this time to let Mr. Yang know how truly sorry I am for what I did to him and his family. I know my actions had a negative impact on his well-being that day. I cannot imagine how it must have been to be in his shoes throughout this whole situation.
U.S. Senator Dan Sullivan of Alaska put a hold on Dr. David Shulkin's confirmation as the Veterans Affairs Undersecretary of Health until the nominee agreed to come to the 49th state and hear concerns from Alaskan veterans. Dr. Shulkin made that commitment and was confirmed in July. Today, that promise came to fruition. Jamie Schwartzwald has the story.
Undersecretary Shulkin is the 3rd-ranking Veterans Affairs leader and has been on the job less than 6 weeks. He joined Senator Dan Sullivan and a panel of state and federal VA leaders at listening sessions today in Fairbanks and Kenai. They will take part in a Senate Affairs Committee hearing tomorrow in Eagle River. At issue, the Choice Act of 2014. The act was established to revamp and improve veteran health care. However, Sullivan has heard from a large contingent of Alaskan veterans who say choice is not working.
So what we need to do, all of us, is work together. The VA, our veterans community, and the Congress to do what all of us agree we need to do, which is keep the commitment that we've had to our veterans, the sacred trust or responsibility that we have for our veterans, and take care of them.
Most of the problems reportedly revolve around the Tri-West Healthcare Alliance, with whom the VA has partnered to pay claims to a network of healthcare providers when such services cannot be provided by VA providers. There are reported 900 different 1-800 numbers and 14 different web pages offering assistance for veterans seeking help. Alaska vets complained of lost paperwork in a system that is too cumbersome and inefficient to work in Alaska, the home of more veterans per capita than any other state in the Union.
Calling the Choice program often results in a 1 hour or more hold on the phone, only to be told that we can't help you.
Instead of taking the time and effort to fix the VA and properly fund it, now you're outsourcing it to another layer of bureaucracy, which is going to cost more because those people have to be paid, and then it's going to be less for the healthcare provider.
The solution? Fix what's broke, stop adding additional pieces. That just makes the matter worse.
Dr. Shulkin says he will take what he heard today and will hear tomorrow, evaluate the comments, and make changes to the system in order to better serve our nation's veterans.
The VA was broken and our current system's broken. And that's exactly what we're going to fix. We absolutely cannot leave it like this. There is no question.
All right, when we come back, a man who has given more than 4 decades of his life to the Fairbanks Fire Department is calling it quits. You'll hear our conversation with him.
Also, the boreal forest is an incredible work of nature, and this week local artists are paying tribute through paintings and writings. We'll share some of their creations. Those stories and more when we return.
Welcome back. Problems with transportation of students the first few days of school will be one topic of discussion at a special meeting of the Fairbanks North Star Borough School Board this week. It's set for 6 p.m. Thursday at the district offices on 5th Avenue. The board will be discussing the problems First Student School Bus Company had getting students to school last week. The main issue was shortage of drivers that caused buses to be late, and in some cases, routes were canceled. The board could go into a closed executive session to discuss the possibility of a breach of contract by the bus company.
Chief Warren Cummings with the Fairbanks Fire Department is set to retire after over 43 years of service to the Golden Heart City. Chief Cummings started at the Fairbanks Fire Department on April 1, 1972, after serving in the United States Army. Cummings says he's done and seen it all during his 4 generations there. From the modernization of department equipment to establishing a Class 1 ISO fire service rating, which was the first ever insurance rating milestone acquired by a fire department in Alaska. Cummings also did his part in grabbing over $27 million worth of grant money to cover buildings, vehicles, staff wages, and equipment for interior fire departments. After all that hard work, he is set to retire on the 1st of November this year due to health concerns. It's up to the city of Fairbanks to hire a new chief before that time occurs. Cummings says he wants Assistant Chief Ernie Mesowitz to sit in his chair for the next era of the Fairbanks Fire Department.
Just for continuity of things, the way they operated, Ernie would be my choice just because of the experience. Ernie has a good handle on how things operate around here, and I think that's kind of crucial. It doesn't mean it's the only way to get things done, but having the experience is definitely a plus. Whoever comes in needs to continue what we've done in the past and make sure we don't start falling down on things we've accomplished over the years.
New details were released about President Obama's visit to Alaska next week in a statement issued by a White House spokesperson today. The president will be traveling to the Seward area on September 1st and Kotzebue and Dillingham on September 2nd, where he will engage directly with Alaskans on issues important to their communities and to the local economy. According to the schedule, President Obama will leave on September 2nd. Obama is scheduled to visit Anchorage on August 31st to speak at a State Department conference on the future of the Arctic and Arctic politics. Many are expressing concerns about the president's visit causing flight restrictions that will impact the start of the hunting season.
Probably the largest movement of small aircraft during the whole year in the Anchorage area is the 31st of August and the 1st of September, right smack in the middle of the TFR time period. In Alaska, there's no other means of transportation to the places we're going. So people are either stuck out or they're stuck here.
There's a lot of people that are going to be stranded. I mean, there's hunting parties that might have to sit for an extra 4 days.
The boreal forest is the world's largest land-based biome and represents nearly 30% of the Earth's forest cover. This month, local artists are celebrating the northern forest that encircles the globe by showcasing inspired pieces. A number of local painters and writers were invited to participate in an invitational community exhibition titled Our Boreal Forest at the Bear Gallery in the Alaska Centennial Center for the Arts in Pioneer Park. 29 individuals have displayed a variety of different media artworks as well as poems. This Tuesday at 7 p.m., Fairbanks painter and author Kes Woodward will present an art making in the boreal forest as part of the exhibition. Woodward will discuss the way artists across North America and Eurasia have depicted the intricate ecosystem of the boreal forest. Fairbanks Art Association Associate Director says the exhibit will end Saturday, August 29th.
Those familiar with Mr. Woodward's work will know that he's quite popular for his beautiful paintings of birch trees. I encourage everybody who hasn't seen the show already to come on by and check out a really wonderful exhibit by a large number of Alaskan artists.
Okay, Joe Cook is up next with the weekend recap in sports.
That's right, the GNAC preseason polls are out and you'll see where the Nanoks are picked to finish.
Also, we have the latest high school football poll and more after the break.
Welcome back into your Alaska. Joe Cook here with your weekend recap and local sports. But first, news today from the GNAC conference they released their preseason team rankings for volleyball. The Alaska Nanooks were picked to finish last in the 11-team conference after tying for 8th last season, so nowhere to go but up for Brian Scott and the Nanooks in a very competitive conference. UAA received 5 first-place votes to earn the preseason #1 ranking. They also received votes in the preseason AVCA Top 25 Coaches Poll. Defending GNAC champs Northwest Nazarene are second with 3 first-place votes. NNU is also ranked 20th in the AVCA preseason Top 25. Central and Western Washington tied for 3rd and each got at least 1 first-place vote. Western was picked 24th in the AVCA Top 25 as well. Alaska will be in action for the first time this season for their annual Blue Gold game this Saturday at 7 p.m. at Alaska Airlines Court. They opened the season Friday, September 4th with the Flint Hills Resources Nanook Classic Tournament. Now to high school football. For the second week in a row, one interior team suffered a loss while all the others won their matchups. Owlson, they crushed Homer 61-18, led by Caleb Dunlap's 164 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns. He now has 7 TDs to start the season. The Rams are 2-0 after a big 56-0 win over Vosnesenka. Caleb Thomas also had a big day on the ground, 206 rush yards, 3 TDs on 14 carries. West Valley, they won their first game of the year, 26-9 over Thunder Mountain. The Wolfpack are the only Rail Belt team with a win so far this season. Lathrop fell 36-19 to Palmer on Friday in Palmer. That brings us to the latest ASBN football poll for week 3. West Anchorage is the new #1 in the large schools poll. The Eagles will play #2 Diamond this week. Chugiak is 3rd, followed by East and Bartlett. Not much has changed in the medium and small schools polls. Sohai and Palmer are still 1 and 2. North Pole and Owlson, they are still 3 and 4. Kodiak makes their first appearance in the polls at #5. And after a busy start to the high school cross-country season over the weekend, interior teams got off on the right foot. In Soldotna, the West Valley boys won the Salteshi Invitational 5K meet on Saturday. They had 6 runners finish in the top 15. The boys' invitational had 142 runners, and the top 5 teams from last season. Ty Donaldson paced the Wolfpack team, finishing 6 overall in 16 minutes 25 seconds. The West Valley girls, they finished in 3rd place. They were led by Grace Marks, who placed 15th overall with a time of 20:15. Now back in the interior, other local high school teams ran the first all-schools varsity meet of the season Friday evening at the Chena Lakes Recreation Area. It was the first time on this trail for a number of runners, but the Lathrop Malamutes, they owned the trails, beating out teams from all over the interior. Autumn Fournier won the girls' title for Lathrop. She crossed the finish line of the 5K race in 21 minutes 5 seconds. Defending 3,200-meter champion of the region, Logan Murray out of Lathrop took the boys' title in 16 minutes 54 seconds to lead a group of Malamutes who were right behind him. Kevin Brune was just 3 seconds behind the lead for his personal best. Murray was pleased with how his team worked together in the season opener.
Every time I felt like I was going to waver, I had him there to push me. So there was definitely a lot of teamwork going on, not just with Kevin, but like the whole team. And good job, bud. Yeah, I mean, I wanted a fast race today, and like they definitely helped me get there. I started pushing. I made sure to push that first mile. It's a flat course too, so I had an idea of how to do that from track with all the coaching there. And yeah, we just wanted a fast race today, so that's what we did.
And a number of runners are probably still checking their bodies for any signs of turning. Nothing here. Apparently there was a zombie breakout on Friday night. The Walking Dead made their presence felt in Fairbanks for the inaugural Running Dead 5K. The event was hosted by the Fairbanks Roller Girls and took place on the trails behind Pioneer Park on Friday night. Participants could either sign up to be a zombie or run as a person trapped in the zombie apocalypse, regardless of their role. Many participants dressed up for the occasion. There was even a samurai sword to ward off any zombies. Runners had flags attached to their waist that the undead tried to steal. Survivors had to have 1 flag left in order to survive the race. The zombies with the most flags at the end of the race won a prize. Wonder what that was. Maybe some brains. That's it for sports tonight. Thanks for watching. Mike Schultz is up next with your full weather forecast, and we'll catch you next time.
Everyone, welcome back into the Fairbanks Evening News for a Monday night. Hope you had yourself a good weekend. A little wet at times. Still a good time for Saturday for the Military Appreciation Day and the bike safety at the Regal Cinema Theaters. Great turnouts and a lot of good fun there. And as far as our weather is concerned, we're looking at a big change. I'll tell you about that in just a little bit. And it is getting fall. You can't deny that. So Dorothy Loiza was able to capture this beautiful photograph showing the leaves turning colors not too far away from where she's at. And she was able to get those colors, those beautiful reds and oranges. And as always, if you have a photograph, well, share it with us. Photos at ktvf11.com. That's the address to send it to. Here's your numbers right now. 55 for the high today. The low last night, 45. The record high, 86 in 1928. 20 years later, it got down to 23 degrees for the overnight low. Sunrise and sunset about 15 hours and 32 minutes of daylight, a loss of 7 minutes from yesterday. Here's what we're looking at. A lot of moisture coming in from the west and the southwest, and it can't help but get into the Fairbanks area starting later on tonight and tomorrow. And there's a lot of water precipitation with this, so we're looking for quite a bit of rainfall. It'll be interesting to see how much we get, but they are calling for flash flooding in some areas to the west along the coast there, so there's a lot of energy with this system. Now what's going on right now is fairly quiet, but you can see that storm system starting to work its way in across the Seward Peninsula, and just a few pockets of moisture around the Fairbanks area, but nothing really substantial working in. That's coming in later on. What else is going on across the rest of the state? Well, over southeast Alaska, it's a nice day. 61 degrees, partly cloudy skies at Juneau, the same for Ketchikan. Down around Anchorage, 67 degrees, lots of sunshine there. Even better at Kodiak, 70 degrees. Well, Cold Bay, 55, 54 at Bethel, and 50 degrees at Nome, partly cloudy skies. Another chilly day at Barrow, 38 degrees there, and Fort Yukon, 55 and partly cloudy. Lower 48 weather, it looks like this. Another nice day in Seattle, 74 degrees, just partly cloudy skies, still very hot over the desert southwest. Another hot day in Denver, and even really hot in Salt Lake City, 98 degrees. Kind of cool around Minneapolis, but a 100-degree day for the folks in Dallas-Fort Worth. Over the eastern side of the country, you can see temperatures still very warm over the East Coast, 91 degrees at Washington, D.C., a few thunderstorms in New York, and down around the southeastern sections looking at a little bit of shower activity in the afternoon heating. This area of low pressure moving across the Great Lakes, helping to bring a little bit of activity across places like Milwaukee and Green Bay, Wisconsin. And you can see over the northwest a little bit of shower activity, but still very, very clear and warm. And that is because the high pressure is really set in place here. That's allowing, again, the dry conditions to continue. The forest fires are still just going like crazy, unfortunately, and there's a little cooler air moving in on the west coast, and that's about it. The overall outlook for later on this week is calling for the jet stream to rain well to the north, and as that does, that allows all the heat and humidities to still come moving up from the south, so it's going to be pretty muggy for those folks for the rest of the week, the way it looks right now. But back to Alaska for tomorrow. Here we're looking at scattered showers for Barrow and Fort Yukon. Now the rain may get very heavy in the Nome area. That's where we're saying a possibility of some localized flooding going on there. Over the interior, looking at rain developing and spreading over the entire region by afternoon. And temperatures will start cooling down too, only 58 degrees at Fairbanks. Now tomorrow's forecast for southeast Alaska, just the opposite. Mostly sunny skies for Juneau, partly cloudy skies in Ketchikan. And over the southwest part of the state, mostly cloudy skies for Cold Bay, partly cloudy for Kodiak, and some scattered showers for Bethel. And if you're heading down to the Anchorage Bowl, they're looking pretty good, becoming partly cloudy in Anchorage and Homer, and mostly sunny skies for Valdez. And it is time once again, it is already rotated around, but we're time for our Kids Weather Watch once again. Now we're going to be looking with the kids next week, talking to them, but tonight's weather fact is from 1906. Guinea, Virginia had a rainstorm dropping more than 9 inches of rain in 40 minutes. And this year, the 50th anniversary for the folks at Mount McKinley Bank. And like I said, next week, we'll be visiting with the kids from Anderson Elementary School at Allison Air Force Base. It's going to be fun getting the program going once again. So our forecast for tonight, increasing clouds with a few isolated showers, 46 degrees for the overnight low. Tomorrow's forecast, well, the rain will be developing and continuing into the evening hours. Not quite 60 degrees. The extended forecast, wet all the way across the board. And look at the temperatures. Cooling down by this weekend, 50 and 46 for the high. Overnight lows also dropping down. We could be seeing possibly dropping down below 40 degrees by Saturday night. as we are definitely getting into a fall time pattern. The geese can tell you that. They've been flying over my house every night, it seems like.
It seems like that's right over that area is where the geese are flying like a little airport strip all their own.
Yeah,
So.
get some good formations though.
Yeah,
nice,
very
nice.
good.
Flying V.
Flying V, that's right. Thanks, Mike. That'll wrap up this edition of the Fairbanks Evening News. We are glad you could join us.
Well, tonight on NBC Nightly News, after falling over 1,000 points at one time today, is the stock market seeing a return to volatility? That's up next with Lester Holt.
And you can join us here 6 days a week at 6 and 11 or online anytime at webcenter11.com.
All right, from all of us here at the News Center, have a great night.
Good night.